Let's go ahead and look at an example. So scrolling to the next page, we're talking still about type 1 and type 2 errors. Suppose the null hypothesis, H naught, is that Frank's rock climbing equipment is safe. That's our H naught. So if you need to flip back to the other page, you can. All right, type 1 error was that H naught is, let's go confirm. Type 1 error is that we reject H naught when H naught is actually true. Reject H naught when H naught is true. Type 2 is that we fail to reject H naught when H naught is false. So when we write out what our type 1 and type 2 errors are, we're going to actually use the H naught as the given hypothesis that Frank's rock climbing equipment is safe. So a type 1 error is when we reject this. So we're saying it's not safe. So Frank thinks his equipment is not safe because we rejected the null hypothesis. Frank thinks his equipment is not safe. That's the rejection part, when in fact, it was actually safe. H naught was actually true. All right, he thinks it's not safe when it actually is safe. That's our type 1 error, right? If you want that, you can rewrite all of that. The alpha is the probability that Frank thinks his equipment is safe. Sorry, is not safe when it actually is. All right, type 2 error would be when we failed to reject. Essentially, it's not quite the same thing, but just to kind of help us summarize, we're going to say his equipment is safe because we think it is safe if we fail to reject it. Frank thinks his equipment is safe. When it actually is not. And the beta is the probability of a type 2 error. So probability that Frank thinks his equipment is safe. When it isn't. All right, think to yourself real quick, looking at these two types of errors, Frank thinking his equipment isn't safe when it actually is, or him thinking it is safe when it actually isn't. Which one is more serious in this situation? It's not always going to be type 1 or type 2. It really just depends on each situation. Here, if we're thinking about which one's more serious, it would be our type 2 error. All right, and this is because in this case, Frank has no reason to not believe his equipment is safe. So he's going to go and use his equipment. But was his equipment actually safe? It wasn't. So he could really hurt himself because he's out there using, you know, his carabiners and all of his ropes and stuff, and something could snap and he could hurt himself while he was rock climbing. All right. So type 2 is more serious here. Because he would keep using unsafe equipment. Whereas with type 1, he would be told, hey, it's not safe. So of course he's not going to go and use unsafe equipment. So even though it was safe, like all he's really doing is wasting his resources. He's not putting himself in danger, all right, by being cautious and not using the equipment because he's told it's not safe.